This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So another installment of our gas chat. Let me know in the comments how you did with Black Friday. I don't know if you made any purchases that you thought were worthwhile or ones that you got away with. Personally, I don't think I bought anything over Black Friday, so I think that's a semi-win. One of the things that I was looking for was either a shed or a laptop. I can confirm that I've got neither, so that was fruitless. One thing that was interesting about this Black Friday thing was that it seemed to extend over quite a long period. And for instance, I was chatting to Lenovo or looking at Lenovo, and I keep getting emails. It seems that this sale period has extended even further, such is, I guess, the desperation to sell bits and pieces. And I guess it's just an indication that, of course, businesses need to sell stuff, and of course, as consumers, we can be enticed by some of these things, and buying gear or buying stuff isn't always a bad thing if you need stuff. These videos are more about trying to make decisions, I guess, for myself that make sense with the position that I'm in financially and in terms of space and in terms of having a happy marriage. So in any case, so the story with my gear acquisition thing goes that in the house that I lived in previous to this one, my wife had just started up her business kind of embroidering stuff. By the way, these are flying off the shelves. If you did want these things, which I kind of put together just in case, because some people have asked me about merch in the past and I've been told that it'd be a good idea. So this is merch that has me riding a guitar with a Fenton on it, in case you wanted to stay warm whilst practicing your arpeggios. Anyway, she started her embroidery business, and in that house, I actually kind of let the gear get away from me a little bit. The idea with this channel, of course, is that I try and show off bits of gear, and part of that is acquiring gear. That's part of what I do, of course, but I think there is a tendency for me, especially, to try and hold on to gear, perhaps irrationally. So this is what, over the past year and a half, I've been trying to get to grips with, and I think I've got quite a bit better at it. It's specifically amps. I would say the only way, I think, to stop gassing for amps is to either run out of money or space, or have the experience that I've had where I've bought enough amps that I kind of get the sense for what these things are like. And I'm now down to the Mesa Boogie Electrodyne, the Mesa Boogie Nomad, which was the first kind of proper valve amp that I bought. So that is number one. The Electrodyne was the second proper valve amp that I bought. I've got the Catalyst, which is kind of, you know, a recent solid state modeling thing. And I've got a Fender 1965 Pro Reverb, which was an accidental purchase from Jake. Yeah, I'm doing quite well, I think, at the moment in terms of getting rid of some of this stuff. So recent sad but necessary sales included a Mesa Boogie Mark 1 reissue head, which I'd got because I was like, well, I've never seen one of those before. But I don't think just keeping stuff because it's rare is a particularly necessarily good decision for me, because if I wanted that thing again, I could probably buy it. You know, a Mesa Boogie Mark 1 reissue, they do come up, and especially if I was to buy it in combo version, I could probably find one again. The point being actually that I wanted to sell a bunch of these amps to see if I would indeed buy one of these back. So I sold a Lone Star as well, one of my favourite amps, but a Mesa Boogie Lone Star, not super tricky to come by. And so I figured I could sell that one, and if I one day decide, you know, I really want a Mesa Boogie Lone Star again, then hopefully I'll be able to afford one at that point. I also sold a Mesa Boogie Mark 3. Now this is one that is probably the most regrettable, because I did actually sell this one before, bought it back, and then I've sold it again just because it's 32 kilos. It's an amazing amp, but it doesn't do my back any good. And in any case, it's the hardwood version, so I could probably buy a Mark III without the hardwood and all that stuff and have essentially the same amp for maybe half the price. So I sold that one. That one, in some ways, I have some sentimental attachment to, but at the same time, not as much as the Mesa Boogie Nomad, which is the first valve amp that I bought, or the Electrodyne, which is sort of truly unique, one of a kind. And to some extent, they're all Mesa Boogie amps, they all overlap in territory. Amps that I bought kind of frivolously to kind of demo, and now I'm not bothered that they're gone. The Orange Rockaverb, a Mesa Boogie Road King, which is a crazy amp, but I saw one come up locally. I'd never tried one, but I thought that could be an interesting amp to make some videos on. Indeed, I'd never played a rectifier, now I have, and now I know I don't really need one. What else? The Cornford Carrera. Basically, it's just super easy for this stuff to get out of hand, as Jake knows. But what I think is, for me, I wanted to have one amp. If I was gonna have any amp that kind of did one thing, the Fender Pro Reverb number 1 from 1965, to me the Fender Clean is pretty much the ultimate thing. They have a really cool reverb as well. So if you're going to have one amp that is fairly limited, why not make it sort of a fairly unique amp? So that one from 1965, number 1 that was made, so the first Pro Reverb that was ever made, I think, first off the production line, pretty unique. So I mean, that is some kind of sentimental-ish stuff going on there, but I don't know, it's fairly cool. The Mesa Boogie Nomad, the first amp that I bought from Manson's when I was about 18, the first proper amp I mean, and then the Electrodyne, because it hasn't sold yet and I've not had offers for it that are reasonable. But I feel a bit better about the space that I've now got here, although behind the scenes there's a load of baby stuff over there. So this is just a bedroom that I film in, by the way, and so that's part of the reason as well why it doesn't make sense to fill up the whole room with amps and stuff, although the room is a bit of a mess at the moment. Amps were the one thing that I used least, and that I could be most sure that I'm not actually going to be missing out on much if I let them go, because most of my playing is done through guitars into digital modelling devices, and those are easier to share with you as well. So that's where I'm at. That's the amps that I've sold, and we're now in a situation where 1, 2, 3, 4 amps, 3 proper valve amps. I don't know whether I'm going to continue to pare it back from there. I think the Mesa Boogie Nomad will stay with me, because in terms of money that I could get for it, maybe sort of £500, not really worth it. And the Electrodyne doesn't seem to be going for a price that I'm willing to let it part for, so that can stay as well, I guess, because it looks quite pretty. And also keeping like heads around is probably more reasonable than combos. Maybe you could have 2 heads for the space of 1 combo. But I think I'm done buying amps. I feel like the gas for amps might be sort of cured. I've tried enough to know that, and I've done enough ABs with modelers to know that I think I'm fine. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are there any amps that you sold that you regret selling? I've sort of let go of some of that attachment to some of this gear now, and for sure I'm never going to be a one guitar type person, but I think I could get by with 1 kind of real tube amp. So we'll see how that goes, but at the moment 3 I think that's better than having sort of 9, 10 for me. I'm not one of these people that wants to be particularly a gear museum or a gear hoarder. I just want to have the pieces of gear that I actually use, I think. Especially because there's a kid on the way.